Okay, this is my experience traveling to Melbourne, Australia to see a quantum optometrist, Dr. Michael Christian. Now, I'm wearing my old glasses. My new glasses are in the express post, and I hope they arrive any day soon. And I'm going to do a solo podcast first on this experience and why I decided to finally go and see Dr. Michael Christian and what is going on in my body and my experience of actually seeing him before I get him on the podcast, hopefully around July, to interact with him. And I have a feeling he has got a lot of goodness to share. So I'm just going to really give him the mic and hand it over to him. Okay, so what's funny is I was looking through my video archives to put them on my YouTube channel, Dr. Jen Ong, and I actually found one from 2022 responding to a follower's question about vision and eyesight. And I'm here recommending this guy, Dr. Michael Christian, that I've never personally experienced, but I've heard a lot of great things about over the years. So when did I first hear about Dr. Michael Christian, the quantum optometrist? It was back in 2014. I had just had Violet, and my midwife introduced us to another home birth couple, Katie and Stu. We don't keep in touch with Katie and Stu anymore, but they were telling us about this optometrist that had been able to almost correct their vision. So one of them had a really high prescription and was down to very, very minimal. And the other one also had some stuff going on and was pretty much out of glasses when I met her, I believe. Anywho, what really got to me was they said he can actually correct your vision using prisms. And what really got me excited was they talked about how they had been having discussions with him as to the emotional changes people would go through. And of course, I was full of questions. How quickly can you correct your vision? What's involved, and so on. And pretty much you can choose to move through it as quick as you desire and as much as your body can handle. And I feel like I have such a different level of understanding on this now, 11 years later, from first hearing about him. And I find it really interesting because I talk a lot about how the right people come into our life, or we say yes to certain things when we feel ready or we feel curious and drawn to it. And back in 2014, 15 to the middle of 2016, I was actually living in Melbourne. Now, he wasn't working in Melbourne City at the time, he was down on the coast, but I never thought to see him. Maybe during that time was also when we didn't have a lot of money sitting in our bank account, and I wanted to take time off work to be fully present as an attachment parent for Violet. Those were my priorities at the time. And then when I moved to New Zealand, I still knew about this guy and that apparently people would travel from all over the world to go and see him. So I was just under this assumption that it would be really expensive and under the assumption that if I start seeing him, I'm going to have to go back every handful of months whenever I want an upgrade on a prescription. And I don't really know if I want to pay for flights to go back and forth to Melbourne from New Zealand for something like that. And look, I used to go back to Melbourne at least 2 times a year, but I never decided to book an appointment. So why I'm sharing this is because I don't think I was ready. It just wasn't resonating for me. It wasn't a priority. And then in the recent years, so it must have started around 2021, 2022. Actually, it was definitely end of 2021. I have had a series of clients come to me with eye problems, and in particular, right-sided eye issues. Now, this is not the primary issue that they've come to see me for. It's usually a combination of bodily, physical state, but also knowing there's something more to this life. They're in a transition. They're wanting to address their relationships, their career, their money, their social structure and support, and dive into the world of emotions and energetics. But now in 2025, I'm looking back and realizing the pattern of who the universe has sent me. And only now have I been able to realize there's a deeper message. And this is where I started realizing that vision, your sight, is literally about the vision that you have for your future. And for those of you who know me, yeah, I dance in the world of pain, but ultimately I want to move you into pleasure and manifestation and all the success that you desire to attract into your life. And they were all right-sided issues. So certain degenerative conditions, someone with an autoimmune condition with their eye, another person who was a little older, just noticing that the right eye was deteriorating a lot more. And let me tell you the series of events. And then there was a client on release, and she was talking about her horse's right eye and how she had to treat that. And then within that week, Gav said to me, "You better go check out Phoenix's eye." Phoenix was one of the young foals. There's something wrong with it. And she had scratched it. Didn't need to call the vet, but it was all just gunked up like conjunctivitis. And I just remember in that moment going, oh my gosh, if I don't address my vision for my life, my animals are suffering for it. Because more and more I've been talking about how everything's connected and how the external world and nature and our animals and the conversations that drop into our field, the clients that get sent to me are speaking to me to address something. So coaching and especially being on social media, recording this podcast, it holds me to a level of accountability to grow, to practice what I preach. So those were the series of events. And then a few months ago at the start of 2025, this is now mid 2025 that I'm recording this. At the start of 2025, I decided to get my eyes checked. And I usually get a new pair of glasses every year. I've had these for a few years now. I actually had two pairs and a cleaner that we had stepped on both pairs. So these are my insurance glasses. And I just haven't been able to find nice frames. And a few months ago, I got my eyes checked, but I just sat on that script and I didn't do anything about it. And they actually wanted me to go up a level. So it usually goes up in 0.25s. My script is negative 2.5 or 2.75, and they wanted me to go like up to negative 2.75 or -3. So I'm short-sighted, so I go into the negatives. If you're long-sighted, then you go into the positives. So my eyesight has been worsening, but it's not bad enough for me to need to really change it. I guess I've gotten used to this level of normal. But what was interesting was they looked in the back of my eye and they said, "You have this white tuft in the back of your eye. We think you should go see a specialist." And it just really shocked me that they're so quick to go, "You should see a specialist." And then I thought, oh my gosh, this is where so many people end up being told something, but they don't know what it is, and they get thrown into this gap. And I said, the only thing that I can think it might be is 2 years prior, it was the start of 2023. I went horse riding with my beautiful friend Holly. You hear about Holly every now and then. And my horse bolted for the first time ever. She spun around and I didn't catch her quick enough. I didn't think she was going to do it because she's never done it before. And then she took off downhill. And I was like, I'm not staying on this horse. I'm coming off. So I think I would have come off anyway. Holly sat the whole thing, which was incredible, picked up my horse, but I came off and I hit my head and I had a helmet on. And when I really don't think I got knocked out, but my vision went 45 degrees. The horizon was 45 degrees. And I was like, oh shit. Luckily, it only lasted for about 5 minutes. We walked the horses back, and I did go and see the optometrist pretty much within a few days just to check everything was okay. Did I need to do anything? Felt absolutely fine. I actually had a new client that next day. We went on to work with one another for 2 years. And that's all I can think of, having this right-sided tuft in the back of my eye. They couldn't even take pictures of it because it was in the wrong angle, which is why she wanted me to go to the specialist. And I said, look, I'm not too concerned about it. I know that it's not about waiting until you get symptoms, but I'm sitting here going vision, vision, vision. Because if you've heard some of my previous episodes and manifesting this property and so on, I redo my vision whenever I have big milestones in my life. And when we moved to this property, I really stalled on it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is like beyond what I ever intended. It's so cool. And then I didn't know what was next. Not that there has to be a what's next immediately. I definitely sat in it and relished that we had attracted this beautiful property. But hey, stop it. I've just got the little doggies down here. um, I found it challenging to go, all right, well, what is it that I desire now that I can see what I'm capable of? And so it was this knowing that, okay, my horse's eye as well, this little news that I've gotten is that I have got to work on my vision. I have got to reassess what my vision is in my 7 life areas. This is something that I take my clients through once they've worked through the emotional aspects, because we've got to have capacity to call in what we desire beyond what we think is possible. And so, yeah, it was for a few months that I didn't get this script upgraded, and I had a money leak in my business. Now, I don't know if I've recorded about this on the podcast or not, but I found about $20,000 New Zealand dollars going out, and some of it was it's fine, and some of it was from a hacker that got access to one of my accounts and subscribed me to a bunch of stuff that I couldn't cancel. And in that thought process of why is this happening for me and getting these messages in combination with astrology and tarot cards, I was being asked to look at my foundations of the vision for my life, but foundations in my business as well. And what came through was I'm not being intentional with my money. I really want to go see this quantum optometrist. I really want to go see this quantum optometrist, but I feel like it's too expensive to go over to Melbourne. It's not true that it's too expensive. I'm just not making it a priority. Hey, podcasts when I don't edit them, and now the dogs are fighting. Hey, Twixie, come here. I'll get Lola. Here she is. Okay, so I don't like to edit my podcast, but um, I was making all these excuses and I wasn't making it a priority. And then things just kept on happening that were consuming my money elsewhere, that I could have gone to and from Melbourne and bought 10 pairs of glasses. And so I said, stuff it. I'm just going to go back. And I looked at my diary. I had the time. And so I literally booked just to go back for one day. I flew in the night before. I caught up with family, had dinner, ate great food, had the appointment the next day, and then flew back early Friday morning. So I literally feel like I went back just to see this quantum optometrist. And when I filled out the questionnaire, I was like, you know what? I don't care if you correct my vision. I'm here for the manifestation. Because what it was is two clients who have, of course, become friends. And then I found out there's a third who did actually go and see him off my recommendation. I rarely recommend people that I have not seen personally. All of a sudden, there's these couple of friends that have gone to see him, and the way they spoke about it, one didn't even need glasses. She just wanted the abundance. I was like, right, these are messages for me. I've got to go and see this guy. And so, yeah, I filled out the history, and then there was some stuff that I forgot and it came to fruition in the session. Now, at the time of me seeing him, he's working in the Docklands in Melbourne. It was pretty easy to find. And it wasn't your traditional optometry room. It wasn't dark. He had the eye charts, but you were looking at it in a light space. He had one sitting out in the balcony. And he was a bit quiet at the start. And so I said, do you want me to tell you like what I feel like I'm here for and a little bit about me? And he's like, sure. So this is again something that I've realized is the more you share, the more you will receive. Because I could have just sat there and said, I'm just here to see you and I need an upgrade to my prescription. And I said, look, I'm just so interested in the manifestation, the quantum field. I feel like, people come to me and they say that they want to tap into being a channel or, being a psychic and all these kinds of things. And this is definitely something that I'm curious about. Like I have moments where I feel like I channel, but I can't do it at will. But I feel like I've become more and more aware of how everything is connected around me. And I'm just looking at my horses, they're just dropping to the ground in front of me. How the animals are speaking. I feel like the line between the physical and the non-physical realm is very blurry. And I would love to open myself up to really be able to receive the messages of how the world around me is trying to communicate with me. So it's like, great. It wasn't beyond him. It wasn't just, I'm going to be here and give you this script. So he has this thing called a quantum tiara, which is where he like slips all the lenses in. Very different to your traditional optometrist. And what I will say as well, I don't think he's that much more expensive than your traditional optometrist. It actually shocked me. So here I was years ago making this assumption, this guy must cost a lot of money. And I actually said, it's like, I thought you would be a lot more expensive because of all the extras you do, and it's not just a quick test. I had my script there and I said, do you want to have a look at it? And he said, sure. And this is the script that wanted me to go up because my eyesight was getting worse. And yeah, he slipped all these prisms in and just asked me different questions, had different conversation, and he also got me to move. So this is very different. I was standing up. He got me to do a range of movements, and I've since seen their Instagram micro prism vision that they get people to do all sorts of different types of movements. And in my history and conversation, I realized, the horses really are something that stretched me on a personal level, but helped my business as well. I always say my first horse, Tilly, the anxious one, she has helped me stretch and grow so much. Um, Really, human emotions don't stretch me, but the horses certainly do stretch me and make me nervous at times as well. But my goal, I said, was, well, I really want to become a great horse rider because I'd love to start or break in my own foals that are 6 and 7 months right now. So we're a few years away, but I have a few ridden horses and I definitely am a little bit nervous in certain situations on them. And I always admire these horse riders that can just jump on any horse and deal with anything. And I'd love to be like that. I also noticed that going one way, my body is a little bit imbalanced. And if my horse spooks, I tend to contract up on my left side. So I'm always very conscious about lengthening out my left side. And especially with Tilly, my sensitive horse, if she's doing something, it's always asking myself, what am I doing? What is she responding to that's happening in my physical body that I might not be conscious about? So I also said, I want to feel really, really calm around my horses. And I mean, that's yet to be something that I experience when I get my glasses. But those are the kind of conversations that I was having. And I love the confidence that he responded with because I feel like this is something more passive. I don't have to take an active role apart from actually wearing the glasses. And so I'm so curious. This is the preamble before I actually get to wear them. There's part of me that goes, look out, I'm going to get these quantum glasses. What's going to change? Because I've already embarked on so much change without the glasses. And I'm curious. If it doesn't do anything, that's okay. But I believe that my intention that I'm going in with, something's got to change. And I'm curious, will I be able to handle the emotional changes as well? So prisms, from my understanding, I do know optometrists that use prisms for behavioral optometry and other aspects, but I found it really unique speaking to Michael Christian about the way he utilizes it. There is some words that just totally didn't register with me, but I get his energy and his feeling of what he was communicating. He's also written a book as well. Cannot remember the name of it. I ordered his first book from the clinic, and he has a second book coming out, which I think will be really interesting. And it's so in line with the emotional work that I do. As I said, it's coming from a very different perspective because I feel like for me, I might be wrong in saying this, but for me, I feel like, oh, I just get to buy these glasses and see what opens up, what happens. But like I speak about psychics and astrologers and energy healing is the more emotional work you do in the space you create, the more you've got capacity to receive what it's ready to deliver for you. Um, so just remembering what else did I notice that I forgot to put down in my history is that I'm left-handed, but the left side of my body is a little bit weak. And so I tend to feel like I can't ground through the left side of my leg, my foot. So even if I'm sitting here, yeah, I'm a little bit wonky, but my left heel is off the ground, but my right side is really planted. And I can totally relate to that on an energetic level that I'm like sorted with the masculine, the structure, the doing, no problem with that. This journey has been more for me embracing the feminine, the creativity, the emotional expression, the intuition. Okay. And I've said to some of my groups is I have this physical thing and as an osteopath and I've hired people to help me, give me the rehab exercises and I either do them and I don't notice quick enough change, I don't stick with it, or I'm just not motivated. And I saw as an osteopath when I was practicing that when people don't do the stuff that should help them, there's usually some sort of emotional block or maybe an energetic block there. And so I've been saying to my groups and my clients, I swear this is something about calling me even deeper into the feminine. You know, the feminine aspect, the feminine essence is something that I'm very conscious about. So, yeah. Um, I know that I've said that I'm not someone to experience physical pain, and this was not so much a painful experience, but I used to have sacroiliac instability, and I had plantar fasciitis in my left foot when I was a late teen. And historically, osteos used to tell me I had something up with my left sacrum, and I didn't feel any issues, so I didn't do anything about it. And then it was plantar fasciitis, and it was the sacroiliac joint pain, and then, or the dysfunction. Then, when I was 9 weeks pregnant, I had meralgia paresthetica. So I had an impinged femoral nerve. It wasn't painful, it just felt cold and wet on my left leg, and a little bit achy and weak. So it took that level of physiological stress to highlight, okay, there is something going on your left side. Now, I'm a very right dominant left-hander. I only write and deal cards with my left hand, which is really bizarre. So I'm curious, watching some videos on his Instagram page, I'm curious if these quantum glasses are going to help me to be able to strengthen the left side of my body. And actually, what I should have said earlier is I've already been able to reduce my script. So I can't remember if I'm negative 2.5 or negative 2.75, and traditional optometry wanted me to go up a step to negative 2.75, negative 3, so up a step by 0.25. But in this session and using the prisms and then changing them, my script is actually able to drop. So I'm actually able to go down to negative 2.25 with these prisms, which are in the glasses. And they'll just look like normal glasses. I'm not going to have like these crazy shapes popping out of my eyes. But it was pretty amazing. And from what I heard from my other friend who went, who does need to wear glasses, he was also able to drop his script and he's picking up his glasses. He should have them now. So I'm really excited to see what will unfold for him as well. Uh, so I do believe I don't have to go back in person as regularly as I thought. There is going to be some aspects that will be able to be done online. However, this is me just having a resistance to going, I don't really want to go back to Melbourne, but maybe the changes I experience is like, I'm going back, even if it's just one day to get my script updated and the glasses sent over. Yeah, so I intend to ride the horses wearing glasses now. Hopefully they stay on okay and see if they start to respond differently as well. So Dr. Michael Christian, microprism vision or optics. I will put the link in the show notes. I was able to get an appointment relatively quickly. Um, Go and have a look. The ladies on reception are super helpful if you want to have a chat to them. I know people are saying, what's a quantum optometrist? And as I say, it's not necessarily about seeing someone for the title, it's about seeing the person for who they are. And something I said to Michael Christian is I find it challenging to find people that can hold the space for me. And I felt like he was someone that was able to. Now, are you going to have the same experience that I had? No, because we're all on different legs of our journey. But if you're curious, I think he's pretty amazing in the way that he thinks about glasses and vision, the quantum emotions and energetics. So, Dr. Michael Christian, he does have a couple of books. I didn't feel called to read the book until I actually met him. Um, and yeah, I'm able to read between the lines, I feel, and get the sentiment of what he's trying to put across. So really exciting to see what's going to evolve for him in his world with what he's putting out there. And I'm excited for me to get my glasses, and I'll keep you posted, and I'll be inviting him onto the podcast in the next couple of months to share from his perspective. So I hope you keep an eye out for that.